I absolutely hate it when you go. I'm going to miss you. It stinks. All right, let's get this party started. I know, it's cool for memory building, but it blows when you leave the fam. Yep. All right, well, I guess let's get this party started. Waiting on Getter. Get her, get her, get her. There we go. I should wind up publishing a little bit early, guys. This way, when Getter takes some time to cycle through, it's ready to go. Freewheeling Friday. Let's do this dance. All right, welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Paris, the People's Pundit. It's good to be here today. It's Freewheeling Friday. The girls are leaving on competition this weekend again. It blows, you know.
But we love you.
But they love you, you know. So don't forget to like the videos if you like them. Share them far and wide. If you're on YouTube, it would be great if you would mosey on over to Rumble and give it a like and subscribe there as well. Vice versa. It really does help when you guys do that. Take a second of your time and we'd really appreciate it. But of course, the best place to follow us is right there. people'spundit.locals.com. Listen, if you have been, then nothing is like, they come up with these bing aha moments where the light bulb goes off and they run their segments and then it gets all this news and this press. And it's like, if you're a viewer of Inside the Numbers, you're like, yeah, I know. So what? Right? You're just now figuring this out. This is why everybody should follow us on Locals. Everybody should be watching Inside the Numbers. Before we move on to Michael Cohen's testimony, which was a complete bomb for Alvin Bragg, but we are going to analyze the jury based on what we have heard and what we have been told, okay? For those of you who don't know, that is another big part of my actual job, all right? As opposed to being a public opinion post. Well, not even a post. In connection with being a public opinion pollster, I also... I don't know what you can say. It's not quite as exciting as 12 Angry Men, but it is a much more fulfilling line of work. But we pick juries and we analyze juries as well. And we have done that in many of the high profile cases that you have been following over the years. And it's very fulfilling, especially when you know the defendant is innocent. He's just a poor little boy who got caught up in political bull. And other cases, like when you beat the crap out of inmates in your jails and stuff like that. So been a part of it. It's been good. Very fulfilling when you know you're on the right side. Now, all that being said, before we get into Michael Cohen trial, this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about if you watched Inside the Numbers, this would not be surprising to you at all. In fact, in 2020, because we knew Donald Trump was going to do at very least marginally better with non-white voters, especially in certain isolated areas, we did an entire show analyzing who they were. All right. And of course, a big part of that was age. And we just did a couple weeks ago an entire show on why that is and the power of memory and social bias. All right. So let's go ahead and roll it.
Biden weakest among black voters. When you look at this number, who are they?
Yeah, who are these voters? And let's break it down by age because I really think this gives you a good insight into what's exactly cooking here. Take a look here. If you look among black voters age 50 and over, you see that Joe Biden has a very substantial lead here. Look at this, 82% to 8%. This lead is still in the 70s. This looks a lot like what we saw in the overall polling back in 2020. But look at voters under the age of 50. Look here, Donald Trump is pulling 25% of that vote. Joe Biden is at just 62% of this. This lead, Sarah, this lead is south of 40 percentage points. This is historic. This is what a lot of folks have been talking about, that Joe Biden has a specific problem among younger black voters. And that is exactly what's showing up right here.
What do you say other than no, you know what, Sherlock, or being nice about it? Duh. No kidding. Hold on. Roro's with us. I'm on the show, Roro. Do you mind? I'm on the show. Laura's obviously getting ready for this trip and is not paying attention. And the baby is rolling around in here. But no kidding. Age is a huge factor. We knew this. We told you this. And they're just now having this segment. Look at her face looking down. She's looking at her paper, but you can still see the let's call it leftover aggravation, right? Reading through, trying to take her notes. I'm sure she'll look at her. You can see it in the thing, copious note taker. You can see all the scribble there. And good for her. Aggravated beyond all hell about what she's hearing right now. The power of memory is strong. All right. And we talked about this when we talked about if you are closer to the civil rights generation, if you were directly influenced, meaning maybe even directly raised by the civil rights generation, then you have a stricter, much more loyal connection to the Democratic Party. If you are younger and you do not have the luxury of only caring about that, and frankly, your lived experiences don't comport with what you're being told. And then it's very different. Very, very, very different. There was another clip I wanted to show you to back that up, but I played it already, we played it on Sean Battleground Live with Sean Parnell on Wednesday, where they were doing a focus group with black voters, voters in Georgia, but several of them were black. And they were stunned at the fact that these working age to younger, both men and women, were saying, not only am I voting for Trump, but all of my friends in my social circles, not all, but so many people I know in my social circles, at work and my friend circles, they are all voting for Trump because they made him with these charges and this witch hunt. And it is a witch hunt. All right, I'm not using Trump's language because it's Trump's language. I'm using Trump's language because it's the truth. And if you're a Democrat who's cheering this on, you should be ashamed of yourself. All right, don't you care at all about the lawfare that's could destroy the foundation of our system for your children? Don't you care about your grandchildren? Don't you give a shit about your great grandchildren? Like, don't you care about anyone but yourself? That's what I would say. You're a selfish SOB. How about that? All right. I mean, I understand you got your opinion, don't like the man. So what? I would never, on trumped up nonsense, Stasi-like charges like this, ever convict Barack Obama. I would sit there as a holdout forever. I would hang the shit out of that jury. I don't care who it is. Bernie Sanders, Barack Obama, Chuck Schumer, Steny Hoyer, Nancy Pelosi, whatever. I'm not like you. So let's get into it, because it tempts me to jump to one of the clips I have, but I'm not going to yet, because I think he's nailing it and sums it up. Because people are asking me, hey, this is what the jury did. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? I'm going to tell you what I think, but I'm also going to play a clip of somebody from a show last night that I think was like spot on. And that's what you still have to be concerned about if you're Donald Trump and Trump's team. Well, if you're Donald Trump, ultimately, this comes down to Donald Trump. I read you on Wednesday a story about Michael Cohen. I told you this guy was a total piece of garbage. Here's something else he is, which we brought up when we were reading this. Michael Cohen is stupid. Michael Cohen is not a smart guy. Anyone who knows him will tell you he's stupid. He's a dummy. He's a flake. He's nothing but a goon and a bully. That's all he is. But he's not even a smart goon or bully. And, you know, if you're somebody like Donald Trump, unfortunately in this world, a lot of times you got to have a guy around like this. You got to. The world's an ugly place. People try to shake you down. People try to extort you, which, if Alvin Bragg's case is even true, that's the real victim here is Donald Trump, who is being extorted. All right, but let's get it. Here's somebody who knows Michael Cohen for many years. All right. You know him. I've been on his show before. Let's hear from Roger Stone about Michael Cohen.
Now see, Eric, exactly why the federal prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York reviewed all these transactions, extensively questioned Michael Cohen, took him to a grand jury, and elected to bring no charges.
Timeout. We talked about this on Wednesday. Hold on. And locked. I wanted to lock it too. We talked about this on Wednesday. We went over, I said, you know, context is very, very important. Let's go back to February of 2018. And let's review a story from People's Pundit Daily that I remember like it was yesterday, because it was bombshell and I needed to make sure all the facts were right. So when someone brought me this story, I thought to myself, this is great. I know actually some details of this, and I know exactly who I need to speak with in order to confirm your sources. And it was obviously correct. In retrospect, we can now go back and read it like we did on Wednesday, and we know every detail was 100% correct. This is why they didn't bring the charges. What you saw or heard, if you weren't in the courtroom, you didn't see anything, but what you heard about what transpired yesterday is exactly why career people in the Justice Department at the Southern District of New York decided no effing way. I am not suiciding my career because of with Michael Cohen. I'm not doing it. Andrew Weissman, who already has multiple strikes against his professional record, Arthur Anderson being one of the most egregious examples of prosecutorial misconduct, slapped down unanimously by the Supreme Court, 9-0, even the liberals. He didn't take it. This is why he did not take it, what happened yesterday. But let's finish with Roger Stone before we go on with that.
That's because he's completely and totally non-credible. It's amazing that I live in an alternative universe. I look at NBC and I see that Michael Cohen's testimony has been devastating to Donald Trump. And then I read Jonathan Turley, who's by no means a conservative or a Trump supporter, but a very learned legal analyst in the New York Post, say that Cohen didn't lay a finger on Trump, never tied him to a series of transactions that appeared to have been done by Michael Cohen himself. I mean, Cohen testified that he voluntarily took out a home equity line of credit to pay Stormy Daniels under this NDA that he negotiated, that he decided to set up the company, Essential Consulting, and open a bank account because he thought that the bank would not cooperate in the payments he was sending. Looks to me like Mr. Bragg indicted the wrong guy.
So there it is. And we're going to hear from others in a second, basically saying roughly the same thing, that even if you were to buy half of this story, what it's telling you is that other people committed crimes, not Donald Trump. what is at the heart of the testimony yesterday, right? Because the prosecution the day before had Michael Cohen on the stand, and he was like, looked to be so prepared. By the way, a Democratic lawmaker who is a client of Judge Mearshon's daughter, helped prepare Michael Cohen for this testimony. Senator Murphy, I kid you not, I'm joking not, folks. I wish I was, but I'm not. Helped prepare Michael Cohen to be cross-examined, actually to be both. Helped prepare him to get on the witness stand. And he himself is a client of the judge's daughter, who also is working to get Joe Biden elected, by the way. I don't know in what world that is right. Roger said, I don't know. In an alternate universe, I turn on NBC. Well, NBC was roughly alone yesterday. And in truth, NBC's coverage, like what is supposed to be hard news, this is the kicker. What is supposed to be hard news did not match. Like the narrative they were pushing did not match what their own guests on TV were saying. And then if you turn the channel for a second, you would see something totally different. Here's the very first clip, which we're going to play a bunch of expanding on. Here's the first clip. CNN legal analyst. This is what they thought overview of Michael Cohen's testimony.
I don't think I've ever seen a star cooperating witness get his knees chopped out quite as clearly and dramatically as what just happened with Michael Cohen. I've certainly seen.
Wow. What Trump's attorney, the defense attorney Todd Blanche, did in that courtroom was, you hear a lot of people yesterday equating it to a My Cousin Vinny moment. Okay. When he calls Marissa Tomei on the stand and she goes over about how it can't have been that model car. They didn't make it. Positive traction wasn't made until, this year, blah, 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 blah. But in the case with Michael Cohen, what really happened is that in the prosecution's examination, questioning of Michael Cohen, he told his story about how this conversation happened and transpired and it agreed to be dealt with, and that Trump knew all about it, blah, 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 blah. Then came Todd Blanche's cross-examination. And Michael Cohen was caught he was caught in a series of lies, numerous lies. But the one surrounds the conversation, that's the bombshell. Because the jury, we're going to play some clips to what people think and who are looking at the jury. Listen, it's still a D heavy jury. There's just, from what I am being told and what people in the courtroom are saying, I'm being told that there's like one jury who looks rock solid for Donald Trump. There are many, probably 3/4 of the jury, that look like they will convict Donald Trump of anything. And then there's a handful who look like they're really trying to do their job. They're taking notes. But even among those, among the people that they think or suspect to be anti-Trump jurors, just wholly anti-Trump, or know to be, by the way, because there's several we know dug through their socials and stuff. It's not hard. Anyway, they themselves had these looks on their faces during this cross-examination, like, oh my God, this guy is a liar, a liar. That conversation didn't even happen. What am I talking about? All right, let's keep going here. Do I have this next? Yeah, first of all, let's go to Mr. Biltmore himself, okay? And I know a lot of people are talking about him. Yes, if you've heard this clip, bear with me. But we got to play it because then we're going to bring on the other side's response. Then we're going to bring on some more legal analyst response and piece this all together.
20 minutes of court today, right before the lunch break. It was incredible. I mean, it was... Ellie Honig on my program last night had talked about.
Hold on, or should we say Agent Biltmore? Agent Biltmore.
On a cross-examination, lawyers want to kind of put the witness in build a box around the witness and then slam it shut. That's what Todd Blanche did to Michael Cohen. I mean, the story, the Todd Blanche just methodically went through this sequence of events of this phone conversation that.
Wait, because Anderson Cooper's not going to get into it. A very important part of that cross-examination was the phone record itself. And when Michael Cohen was on the stand for the prosecution, he went over this elaborate conversation where they talked in great detail about how Trump knew what he knew and this and that. What he was describing was like a 30 to 45 minute phone conversation in which there was all of this time to lay out what the president would know and what they would do and this and that. You look at the phone records, the call was a little over a minute and a half. Impossible to discuss everything Michael Cohen had just testified the day before under oath to discussing in that call. And then he's like, well, maybe, there were these other things. And, we did everything. Yeah. We said all that in a minute and a half. And the jury just, from what we were told, the jury's looks were just like, no way. This is not a credible person. And he's not. This is one of the filthiest scumbags you will ever hear of. He is right up there with Michael Avenatti. All right. I kid you not. Honestly, he may even be a little bit. Michael Avenatti is the anti-Trump lawyer who's now spending a half of a millennia in jail, in federal prison. This guy, maybe even worse, honestly, maybe worse than that, because at least he's not Michael Avenatti. At least ran his own show. He may not have paid his employees or the employment taxes on his employees in his IRS bill, but at the very least, he ran his own business. This guy was a leech who leeched off of Donald Trump forever and then turned and bit the hand that fed because he got caught being a criminal, because him and his wife are a bunch of scam artists.
That Michael Cohen had testified to previously, that he had this consequential phone conversation with Donald Trump. It was a 90-second phone conversation. I believe it was October 24th, was the date that was testified to in around 8 p.m. or so at night. But Todd Blanche on his cross-examination today looked at the transcript of text messages that Michael Cohen had received and sent before that time frame. And there had been this series, I guess, of crank calls that Michael Cohen had received. Yep. It turned out to be from some 14-year-old. There was an exchange of messages between the alleged 14-year-old and Michael Cohen. And then Michael Cohen texts Keith Schiller at like 7:50 something or 7:48 p.m. Saying, hey, I've got some dope has been harassing me. I got the person's phone number. Who can I talk to? Keith Schiller texts him back saying, call me. And Michael Cohen calls Keith Schiller. This is the conversation that previously Michael Cohen had said he was calling to speak to Donald Trump to tell him that he was going ahead with the Stormy Daniel arrangement and that Trump approved it, which was a crucial to Michael Cohen's whole raison d'etre for being on the stand. He's the only person testifying to direct involvement by Donald Trump in the Stormy Daniels payments. But according to suddenly now Michael Cohen's refreshed memory, he now says, oh, it was a call about this 14-year-old making crank phone calls to me, but also about the moving ahead on Stormy Daniels.
Totally changes his story. Oh, yeah, we talked about all of that. And Todd Blanche is like, in a minute and 35 seconds? Come on.
Todd Blanche was incredulous, his voice cracking, his voice raising up, moving around the courtroom, speaking, saying that what the jury doesn't want to hear, him guessing, it wants to hear facts. It was an extraordinary cross-examination by Todd Blanche. And, Michael Cohen's, throughout the day, Michael Cohen, when he found himself in a corner, he does have a pattern of suddenly not understanding the question that's being asked, or seemingly one could say buying time to try to figure out how he wants to answer. But he definitely suddenly starts to, have Todd Blanche repeat questions and say, I don't quite understand what you mean. I'm confused by the question. But this time, Michael Cohen was cornered in what appeared to be a lie, I think, to many in the room.
What appeared to be a lie, I think, to many in the room. Geez, Anderson, that's the best you could do for your family, your family's old friend. Oh, yeah, you guys don't know that? I was proud to read that 80s, Aaron. I'm glad you know that backstory. This guy's family used to love Donald Trump. They introduced him to all of the high society peeps. They sold him stuff. They were happy to take his money. This is unbelievable. Now he's what appeared to be a lie. Just be a man for once in your Vanderbilt pathetic little life and admit what you saw. This guy is a liar, a grade A scumbag. He got caught lying on the stand, and what you're doing is running interference for what you hope to be an ideologically corrupt and ideologically possessed jury that will convict him on anything, not because of this crime, but because he is Donald Trump and because he's leading Joe Biden. Because as of right now, Donald Trump will beat Joe Biden and will again be president of the United States. Can we just be honest for a second? This is what this trial is about. Telling these jurors, now you have a chance to help us stop him. Now you have a chance to help us stop him become president again. Forget about the fact that this is a total kangaroo court. Forget about the fact that this could have implications for your children and your grandchildren, and they will no longer live in a free America the way you were brought up, the one you were privileged to be raised in. Oh no, forget it all, throw it all in the gutter, throw it all down the sewer, throw it, just toss it out, toss the baby out with the bathwater, and help us get this guy right now. And Anderson Cooper, for his old buddy, for his mommy's old buddy, you can't even do it, Anderson. You can't even come to you don't even have the balls to say what you know to be 100% true. Michael Cohen is a liar, and Michael Cohen got caught lying on the stand. That conversation never happened. It never happened.
And had to adjust suddenly his memory that he had just testified to on Tuesday. Ellie, I mean, you pointed out just right before the commercial break, if jurors don't.
Yeah, forget about it, because that's the clip I had just played for you. If jurors don't believe, then that's it. I mean, that's the problem. The jury has to like you, and this is what's so weird about this case. We know most of them, if not all of them, don't like Donald Trump. We know that. But the prosecution is bringing people to the stand and prove this case. That, I guess that's really the question here. Is the jury going to dislike Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels more than they dislike Donald Trump? We'll have to find out. That'll be the case. That'll be what it all hangs on. None of the big weight stuff that we were just talking about, the implications this will have on the country moving forward. If they succeed in rigging this election, calling him a rapist, a felon, all on these total nonsense. Guys, I mean, this is the 90s for you. This is the product of the 90s for you. It's all right to lie and say someone raped you. It's all right to lie, and that's the ends justify the means. This is the trust me. I grew up in the 90s. You guys grew up in the 90s with me, the 80s and the 90s. And I wish I would grow up totally in the 80s. I was still very young in the 80s, but coming into, late stage teen and adulthood in the 90s. And this is what we dealt with, this kind of behavior. It still wasn't 100% acceptable for the adults in the room, right? Those who were supposed to actually be the people with responsibility and obligations. That behavior was still not acceptable to them, but it was unfortunately all too prevalent in that younger generation. Now, guess what? Here we are. It's like the circus is in the Congress now. This is it. We're all now those people. And unfortunately, we did not take the weight of those obligations with us. Or the weight of our obligations with us. And we don't care about the consequences of our actions. Many of us do not. So this is the reaction from the other side. All right. Oh. Matt Gaetz and several others coming to the microphone for a presser after this absolute catastrophe. Let's play this one clip, and then we will take a real quick break and then come back with more.
Well, I'm honored to be here with my colleagues from the House Freedom Caucus, where we watched Michael Cohen get dog-walked through the series of lies he has told. There is literally no branch of government that Michael Cohen has not lied to. He lied to investigators. He lied to the judge who sentenced him. He lied to the United States Congress, and he committed these lies for his own benefit. And while we're talking about what we saw in that courtroom going on for people's own benefit, we would be remiss if we did not mention this corrupt judge, this judge whose own family is making six figures off of Democrat politics that continues to gaslight the country that there's some sort of crime committed by President Trump. This is a made-up crime. No other American in the country would be charged with this type of crime. It's like the Mr. Potato Head doll of crimes, where they had to stick together a bunch of things that did not belong together. Observing the jury, I could see that there was a great appreciation for the liar that Michael Cohen was, and we are not getting a fair shake in front of this judge. The prosecutors don't even have to state the basis for their objections. He's agreeing with the prosecutors without even hearing argument on these objections. And there should be evidence getting in about the depth and breadth of Michael Cohen's lies that we're not seeing entered into it. And so we're here voluntarily supporting our friend President Trump, the leader of our movement, the leader of our party, and soon again the leader of this great country. And I want to hand it over to the leader of the House Freedom Caucus, my friend Bob Good.
Nice guy, Bob Good, real nice guy. Whether you agree with his politics or not, I'm here to tell you him and his wife are wonderful people, very wonderful, very pleasant. I mean, just good people, salt of the earth people. This guy, if we had 250 Bob Goods, the country would be a lot better off. This guy has stones, man. You know what it is? It's not even stones. He's got convictions. He's got deeply, deeply held beliefs. Those beliefs are very well informed. I mean, you could talk to the guy for a long time. I'm telling you, you can have good, solid conversations about a wide variety of things, from philosophy to politics. He's a smart guy. And what you'll find immediately, what you'll glean from him immediately, is that he really is a man of his convictions. Whether I agree with those convictions or not, it's irrelevant. Obviously, several of them I don't, but you have to admire how he's a rare animal in politics. That's why I'm saying this. He's a very, very rare animal.
We're here of our own volition because there are things we can say that President Trump is unjustly not allowed to say. This is a corrupt judge. These are corrupted witnesses. This is a corrupt prosecution that belies any sense of the facts or the law. And so we're going to keep speaking out against this. We're going to keep fighting against this. And we will head back to Washington as House conservatives, saying that these undemocratic efforts must be stopped. They must be defunded. We must use our Article 1 powers to stand against election interference. And to close us out, the chairman of the House.
All right, and I didn't bring Bob's comments, but I think that what he was saying right there is very important to close on here before the break. It is very, 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 very essential that there are lawmakers from all stripes. You have Gates, who is a known Trumper. You have Bob Good, who's certainly conservative and agrees with Donald Trump a lot. However, there's a lot of things he does not agree with Donald Trump on, and yet he is still there, right? Why? Because of these principles that they share. And it is important that the country sees all of these different people coming together and saying things. By the way, J.D. Vance is another one who deserves to be recognized for being there and showing up. It is so important to show up to these key things. Listen, I'll tell you right now, if I was a lawmaker and I was on the other side of the aisle, I kid you not, I was not blowing hot air. I was not blowing you-know-what up your you-know-what when I said it before. If I was a lawmaker, if I was a member of Congress or the U.S. Senate, and this was happening to Barack Obama, I would be at that microphone for Barack Obama. There's no doubt. It's not even a question. It is, what is going on is not okay. We solve our problems at the ballot box in this country, not in the jury box. All right. All right, let's take a real quick break, and when we come back, we'll have a lot more. I just mentioned it actually before, right? Michael Avignani doesn't pay his damn bills, but you can get in a lot of trouble even if you try to, and you do pay your bills, and there's accidents, whatever. I mean, listen, it's convoluted tax code. There's no doubt about it, and sometimes you can make mistakes. Even that'll lead to tax debt, among other things. And if you're struggling with it, and the IRS is breathing down your neck, maybe you owe taxes, you don't know where to turn, this is the answer for you. Tax relief Helpers. Tax Relief Helpers is a team of experienced tax attorneys, enrolled agents, and accountants, and they've been resolving these issues for people for over 2 decades. They've seen it all. You need a team like this on your side if you're going to stop the nasty letters, the wage garnishments, even audits. Here's how it works. You'll start with a private consultation. It comes at no cost to you. Then they'll do a thorough tax debt report to see exactly what the IRS is seeing. They even have an insider phone line to the IRS to help speed things up and to get your resolution as fast as possible. They'll build your case. Tax Relief Helpers will save you time, endless paperwork, and they're very tough negotiators. So tough that they even have competitors hire their teams. The best part, they will get results. Remember, tax problems don't solve themselves. Call Tax Relief Helpers, call them today, and get started on your journey toward tax resolution. The number for the People's Pundit is 888-508-5797. That's 888-508-5797. Or you could just go to their website, visit taxreliefhelpers.com. That's taxreliefhelpers.com to learn more. Tell them the People's Pundit sent you. Don't wait. Call Tax Relief Helpers now and get your life back on track. Leave your tax troubles behind. They are resolvable. You can figure it out with the help from Tax Relief Helpers. All right. Then Matt goes on a series of shows, Hannity being one. And there was a very much longer clip, but I did want it was very long. So I didn't want to bring the whole thing on here. And unfortunately, we're going to have to skip over that and come back, but that's all right because we're going to address what the previous guest had said about it. All right. And the reason why he was on anyway, along with Matt, is because he's in the courtroom and he's seeing what, the jurors, reactions, and they're there to give some context. I'm here to tell you that we still filter our beliefs. We still filter arguments that we hear, facts that that are presented to us, stories that are being told to us. We still filter them through the lenses of our own belief systems, and it is very difficult. And prosecutors, they have to know that and do their best to make their case. And the defense attorney needs to know that. Defense team needs to know that, and they need to do their best to present people in a way that can filter through and, in a favorable way for them. And body expression means a lot. And as you know, most of our communication, of course, as human beings, is nonverbal. That being said, there's still a lot of other things that go into play here. All right. If there are, and I'm just going to say it here before Matt, let's say there are 8 jurors who, no matter what, they're all in on convicting Donald Trump. Okay. Why? We're going to get to that in a second. I already started to allude to it before in the first segment. And then there are maybe 3 that are wishy-washy, doing their job. And then there's one that's just a strong, solid holdout. I'm not convicting on this crap. They will work, the 8 being they, will work, especially if the jury 4-person is one of the 8. They will work to engage in what we've called bullying of the other 3 to get them to come over. And then from there, if they're successful, it'll be a process of attrition. Who can hold out? And that one juror typically caves 90% of the time. And then they live with the regret for the rest of their lives, by the way. There's been many cases we looked at of, it almost reminds me of a type of post-traumatic stress disorder. They live with this and they relive it over and over and over. But that's the dynamics of how a jury renders a verdict. All right. Let's listen, because maybe I already said a little bit too much before I get out what I want to get out next. But let's listen to this next clip, and then we'll come back and we'll revisit this a little.
Cohen, in this circumstance, was dog walked through a jungle of lies. But the biggest lie he told, he was caught lying on the stand. You never see that. It was a My Cousin Vinny moment, because he never spoke to Trump about the closure of this deal he supposedly orchestrated. And the jury was aghast. And even the jurors who I think want to convict Trump.
And I keep saying to yesterday because in my head the show was Wednesday. So yeah, the testimony was Tuesday. Again, one of the biggest with that my cousin Vinny moment is that guess what? That conversation that he's so articulate, he was so articulate on the stand on Tuesday that he laid out never happened. It is a complete and total fabrication. It never happened. All right, so that is what he's referring to.
Walked out of that courtroom with their shoulders slumped because they knew Michael Cohen blew this case up. Anyone who relies on Michael Cohen, they lose.
All right, so that is certainly true in life, including Donald Trump, who had relied on him for a while. And as a result, he paid the consequence for it. However, it seemed Donald Trump kind of knew that based on our reporting that we read on Wednesday from, years ago. Donald Trump knew that he could not bring Michael Cohen to D.C. It was very different being a real estate mogul and needing somebody like that to separate you between the nasty, nasty forces that are in New York City if you're going to try to be a businessman like Donald Trump was in Atlantic City, in New York City, right? And so many other places around the world. I mean, you've heard Sammy the Bull Gravana, detail what it was like to be the number one man for the most powerful crime boss in the country at the time dealing with Donald Trump. Like, you couldn't do it. You'd end up indicted. So Trump needed people like this around him at that point. But going to D.C., he cut the dead weight. And that was kind of like a double-edged sword. You couldn't piss off Michael Cohen because he was a crook. And once Robert Mueller started going through his stuff, you knew he was going to find something. And Michael Cohen felt like Donald Trump cutting him loose like that left him exposed. That's what he felt. That is personally what he articulated to people that we spoke with for that story. He felt that Donald Trump opened the door, let the wolves in, and then left. That's what he felt. Man, I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that was his, he left me for these people to hurt me, kind of thing. And listen, Donald Trump's response very simply is, don't be a crook. If there was nothing to find, Michael, you would have been all right. I didn't have to give you a job to protect you. And I didn't promise people when I was running for the office of the presidency in 2016, I didn't promise people that I would appoint based on protecting you. This is really asinine when you think about it. Oh, I can't stand him. I hate him because I did so much for him and then he let them get me. Oh, poor baby. Who the hell told you to be a crook, bro? You made that decision. And the guy's running around the country saying, I'm not going to forget about the forgotten man and woman. He's not going to appoint crooked scumbags to, instead of people that are going to look out for those. They're looking out for themselves, crooked scumbags who are looking out for themselves and their wives because they lied to banks and they lied on financial documents and they lied all this other stuff. They scammed they scammed the bank over their own taxi medallion company. That would not have matched with what he was promising to do. I'm going to come in and drain the swamp, and then I'm going to make Michael Cohen the chief of staff at the White House? Are you out of your mind? What world are you living in? But he's a snake. And the minute you turn your back or you let go of and turn your back on a snake, he's going to get you. All right, so I feel like I want to play this one. We're going to go back to some mainstream media takes, and then I'm going to leave this next clip, which I had in the queue for now, but I'm going to leave that for later because I really think this person got it. I do. I think it 100%, or at least he's understanding that this is the prosecution's going to be their strategy closing and going down, because this trial could be over next week. All right. This could be I think it is. I'm not saying it could be. I'm saying this person nailed it. This is what the prosecution is thinking. This is what they're going to do. They know what I was just talking about with belief systems and how we filter these facts and arguments through those belief systems. They're going to try to exploit that, even though this case fell apart on them. And by the way, if they would have had this case on Long Island, if they would have had this case anywhere, even in like, I'm thinking Westchester, something, it would never have flew. Never. But they got it where they got it. So it is filled with still overwhelmingly Trump haters. Ooh, almost clicked on the wrong thing. All right, let's go back to CNN. We have a couple of legal analysts we want to hear. I was going to read Jonathan Turley, but it's Freewheeling Friday. Let's stick with the videos, right? You guys agree? It's a little bit easier, a little soft. You heard what Jonathan Turley said anyway. He doesn't think and there's going to be a legal analyst from CNN. He used to be big on Fox News, but they stopped having him on. I find him to be very entertaining, very well-known lawyer. You see, and he basically makes the same case that Turley makes. It's just that he does it obviously on a segment. But so I opted not to read Turley's exhaustive thing in the Hill. But here we go.
Okay, Randy, thank you for waiting. Your turn now. Recoverable for the prosecution?
Here we go.
No. Can I stop there, or do you want me to keep going?
You can elaborate.
Please elaborate. You can elaborate. We didn't have you on for you to just say one word and dip. But look at her. Like I said, most human communication is nonverbal. Look at their faces, especially her face. She knows. She just got done saying that this was an utter and total disaster for the prosecution. Look at her. She's laughing because she knows. Yup. One word. That's all it takes to answer that question. What do you think? What did you not just hear what I had to say in the last segment? You thought you were going to have somebody else on who was going to risk their career to say something totally different? Let's roll.
Right to elaborate.
Michael Cohen, thank you. Michael Cohen had one job to do, and that was to put Donald Trump in the room and to have Donald Trump part of the conversation concerning the making of false entries in the books and records of the Trump organization in order to influence the election. False entries are the misdemeanor, elevated to a felony because it's in furtherance of another crime, which is election interference, election fraud. He had one job to do, and he couldn't do it on something so simple. Tell us about a conversation. And the worst part of it is on direct, he sounded so convincing. He sounded so smooth, so good. It was such a good day for the prosecution. Yep. Describes the conversation and then completely shoots the pooch where it looks like that conversation actually never happened.
It looks like that because it never happened. I don't know what else to say here. It looks like that because it indeed never happened. It didn't happen. And this is absolutely, he's saying it's unrecoverable. It's very difficult, even with the jurors the way they are. It's going to be very difficult for them to overlook that. I mean, very, very difficult, folks. I mean, we'll see how it goes. Very difficult. Let's get back to it. Oops, sorry. I was about to hit the wrong play.
Done.
I will say this, as someone who spends a lot of time with these transcripts as part of my side hustle here.
Oh, please. Everybody get on the edge of your seat. All right. Mr. Expert is he spends so much time on these transcripts. So everybody just lean forward, open your ears, and get ready to hear brilliance and genius. Listen, he just laid out the entire fact pattern that the jury needs to conclude in order to convict. That is what Bragg's team has asked of the jury. This is the problem. It was Michael Cohen who was going to connect all of that. And that conversation was pivotal. Because we already know he's asking the jury to take another step here because we already know with the John Edwards case that this doesn't fly. We know it. The high court's heard stuff like this in the past. So he created this novel, conspiracy-like argument or this novel conspiracy crime in order to make it a felony conviction. And because, that anything, even if that what the story they're trying to tell was true, It still, under normal circumstances, would not be a felony. It's campaign finance violation, and it's a fine at most. All right. But he's asked them to go even further here. And what the lawyers are saying, and it's lawyers plural, is that this testimony blew up, and without it, you cannot make that connection. So you cannot get a conviction, which leaves us where? But anyway, like I said, lean forward on the edge of your seat and get ready for genius.
That conversation right there was actually only one of several conversations that Michael Cohen testified to. It was the shortest one, and it was the least perhaps important in telling the story about how.
No, it wasn't. That's the thing. He's now trying to tell the story the prosecution wants people to be told and believe. That is not the way it was delivered on Tuesday. He shifted, as you heard Anderson Cooper state. He shifted on the stand to trying to parse these out into multiple different conversations. On the stand on Tuesday, that is not what he said. Not at all what he said. And he'll get, watch.
Now, according to Michael Cohen, Donald Trump approved of the payments of Stormy Daniels, knew about how they were organized and whatnot. That call was on October 24th. On October 26th, Michael Cohen testified in great detail about a longer conversation he had with Trump where he.
After he got busted, he needed this multiple conversation theory. He tried to pin it most of his testimony on that call that lasted exactly like a minute and 38 seconds.
Talked about actually setting up the bank account. So does that no longer matter, that testimony, Randy?
Falsus in unum. I think that's the fancy Latin phrase, which for the rest of us means if you lied about one thing, right, I don't have to believe another thing that you say, and that is exactly what the judge will instruct the jury. If you find anything that a witness said to be untrue, to be incredible, to be a lie, feel free to disregard the entirety of that witness's testimony.
Look at her nodding her head. Pay attention to her. Did you see what she was just doing? She was nodding her head and squinting. The nodding is, what's the word? When you do something and you don't realize you're doing it, not subconscious. It's somebody help me here. When she's nodding, it's not uncontrollably. It is unintentionally, like, I don't know what that, I'm trying to pull this word up. But involuntary. Thank you, Joel. Thank you. Involuntary. The nodding along is involuntary. And then she is squinting with this like, it's almost disgust. It's like, I don't like what he's saying, but I'm nodding involuntarily because I approve of it. He's right. I don't like it. I don't want it to be right, but it's right. And that's what that facial expression is. It's listening. I'm listening intently. Damn it, I agree. Damn it, I don't like it. But damn it, he's right. All right. So you can see it even in her reaction there.
Once you brought up Latin, there's nowhere else to go. Randy Zellen, we do appreciate your time this morning. Jennifer Rogers, thanks to you again.
All right. So there is the crux of it all. And this is, by the way, again, I just want to stop before we move forward with the next clips, and we got plenty of time for Q&A. And break and Q&A. But this is it. He just got to the heart of this. You can't just on the fly make something up when you get caught in a lie, especially when you are already a known liar. And that is the problem for the prosecution. And, oh, no, but you know what? On the 28th, we had another conversation. And that's when, okay, where's the record to that conversation? Well, that was a personal conversation. Oh, all right. So you just told everybody you had this call, you laid it all out in detail. Okay, yes. And now that I got you on the stand myself, you're looking at the time it took to make that phone call, and the prosecution didn't even make an attempt to explain that. You're busted. That conversation never happened. Clearly, the jury was like, what? Even the jurors that are not favorable to Donald Trump, from my understanding, were like, what? Even Anderson Cooper was like, what? And now we have others that painfully
I think
are
the
gonna have to admit that they don't like it either.
punches are.
This is This is Ari Melber. Let me go back, and then we have one more, and I'm intentionally pulling known Trump haters who have been part of the Get Trump movement, whether they were in the media, legal, the law, whatever you want to call it. These people don't want to admit this, folks. They're not dying to admit this, but they witnessed an absolute catastrophe and don't want to be caught like Alvin Bragg's attorneys with their pants down because they relied on Michael Cohen. They went out on a limb for a scumbag like Michael Cohen, and he left them hanging out to dry. They're not doing it.
I think the punches are building cumulatively. I think Tuesday there were bruises, and today there's blood, to extend the metaphor. They're not done, and this is a back and forth process. I was listening to your reporting, following along like everyone. I'm going back in the courtroom next. I was just speaking to our colleague Lawrence O'Donnell, who spoke to MSNBC today as well. I think the collective view is these are moments the jury will remember, and they are instilling or adding possible doubts about Michael Cohen's long-term credibility.
Whoa. And by the way, this was someone they brought on to try, and I was looking for them, but we don't need to waste another 2 minutes and 36 seconds with the other clip, but he was doing cartwheels in his previous appearances. Ari Melber was doing cartwheels. Like, oh, this was so bad for Donald Trump. Oh, this is it. Then he is forced to acknowledge the truth, which is that you want to ask the jury to overlook one thing, okay, but how much can they possibly overlook? How much is credibility, Jonathan? Right. His credibility has been absolutely impeached. All they have left now is Trump hatred and Trump derangement syndrome. And that's what we're going to get into in a second, because they even lost several of those people. And by the way, I am seeing that, Emily. I'm going to try to confirm that because I did see that on my Twitter feed. I don't know. Let's see. I may have some bit of big news here. It's true. Kyle Becker. It's true. Listen, this is breaking news. The Georgia Court of Appeals has approved. They agreed with Donald Trump's appeal to disqualify Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis and her office from the Georgia racketeering case. She is out, and so is her office. Oh my goodness. Oh my Lord. You have got to be kidding me. And now there's and then by the way, she's having a bad day. Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson are apparently crawling up her ass with a telescope, or a microscope. So I don't know, some records or something they just demanded she release. Oh man. Whoa. So meltdown coming, Byron says on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, guys, this is just a total absolute collapse of, they need this verdict. They need this guilty verdict. Big Fanny, don't let your Big Fanny get hit with the door on the way out. Amen to that, Iron Duke. Listen, everything's done here. They need a verdict from liberals who hate Trump in a courtroom being run by a Biden donor who raised a political operative who works for Joe Biden, who brought in Democratic senators to help prepare Michael Cohen to lie on the stand. This is insane because Jack Smith's cases in Florida and DC have completely blown up. The Supreme Court has dismantled the effort to remove Trump from the ballot. It appears they're going to rule with him at least on limited immunity. We don't even know where they're going to come down on the obstruction thing, which is going to be of great relief, not only the many J6 defendants who are outrageously overcharged, but also and over incarcerated and over sentenced and everything. But it will also help with Trump's case with Jack Smith in the DC case. This is just unbelievable how this is there is absolutely a meltdown that you're about to see. I will also predict right here, right now, you're going to hear a lot of denial, and there's going to be this huge attempt to spin a lot of this, but this is a utter meltdown. Kimberly Strassel, the Wall Street Journal, had written that article going on 2 weeks ago now in the Wall Street Journal. I think it was a Sunday editorial. She didn't even know the half of it yet, right? She didn't even know the half of it. Holy crap. Let's finish Ari Melber, who again is trying to put a positive spin on this. Listen, it's not over. This is how this stuff works. They go back and forth, but there were bruises on Tuesday, and now there's blood. And Michael Cohen's credibility is in serious trouble. And I agree actually with the sentiment that his credibility to normal people who are objective is completely been impeached. It's done. I mean, this is why, again, though, I just got to bring this up again. Don't have to go over the damn article on PPD again. This is why Robert Mueller and Andrew Weissman were like, I'm not going to Rosenthal and asking him to extend the scope of the special counsel's purview for this guy. Not doing it. So instead, kicking it to the Southern District of New York, you vet some of the other stuff he's telling us, because the very first thing we looked at was a lie. Southern District of New York rolls and rifles through everything. Finds this guy doesn't tell the truth at all. I'm not ruining my damn career with Michael Cohen. It's only when Joe Biden is getting his ass kicked in the polls, when Joe Biden is legally in trouble, and so is his son himself. And if, God forbid, for their family, Donald Trump gets back into the White House and actually appoints somebody reasonable to be the attorney general, and maybe even a temporary acting attorney general like Mike Davis or something, to go scorched earth on these people. It's only until they, with all of that to lose, money laundering in Ukraine, all of it, only when they have something to lose and are losing, does Biden's number 3 at the Justice Department go over to Alvin, I was going to call a bad word, Bragg, who's been campaigning on getting Trump, along with Letitia James. Only when this timing, this happens, does anybody bring this case. Who leaves a prestigious role at the Justice Department that he spent his entire adult career life pursuing? Who leaves that position to go work for fat-ass Alvin Bragg in a dead-end job at the district attorney's office in New York? Nobody, Laura, nobody. Who the hell would do that? That came right from the top. None of these career people who are, even though they hate Trump, they're supposed to know better. Apparently, they did know better. Not even they would bring it. And their job could be on the line. If Trump gets in and says, hey, gut the Justice Department, get rid of the ATF, knock half of the FBI down a size, go after Main Justice. I want half of those offices cleared out by the end of the month. They don't know. Republicans are taking the Senate. They don't know. Maybe all of a sudden they could have a better than average night than they thought. They were supposed to lose 13, 15 seats in 2020. They didn't. They picked up seats. That could happen. They could have a ballsy majority for once. And the president could say, use the purse. Go to town. I already have control over OPM. Go to town. Those people, even at risk themselves, didn't want to do this. Alvin Bragg.
As I think everyone knows by now who's followed the trial, the question isn't has he changed his mind and retracted things. Both sides agree on that. That's not in doubt. The question is, does this guy still lie? And if he does still lie about anything, little, medium, or large, can you trust him? And the standard is not, okay, do we have to be be convinced that he lies about everything. The standard for the jury and why Blanche is making some progress is, by the end of this, does the jury have reasonable doubt about Cohen telling the truth on elements of the crime? The other stuff won't ultimately matter when they deliberate. It just accrues. But what we saw in that kind of dramatic back and forth as it's been described today, of, well, but you did lie, and have you lied, and why do you sound like this, and a podcast where you might sound allegedly unhinged, all of that accrues to whether jurors go back and say, I doubt whether he's telling the truth about an element of the crime. For example, Trump's criminal intent back in 2016. So I think they are landing blows, Andrea.
I think they are landing blows. Again, this is a guy who pushed Russia collusion. This is a guy who he himself is a liar. This is a guy who's been completely invested in the Get Trump movement. This is a guy who's been completely invested in one conspiracy and scam after the other. And he is characterizing it like that. As you just heard the prior attorney explain, the judge, whether he likes it or not, will have to instruct the jury that if you find anything to be not credible out of Michael Cohen's mouth, then you could just disregard everything. The jury's going to go in the back, and the one holdout is going to say, I am not convicting based on that liar. And then it'll be a race for the other three. And if they get the other three, if the 8 Trump haters get the other 3, then, you know, it'll be on this entire thing will be on the back of one person. And I know that's kind of scary, but if there's even a hint of people like the next person we have up who, is a Trump hater, but themselves admitting that they cannot do it. You heard Anderson Cooper himself. Did it sound like if Anderson Cooper was a juror, he would vote to convict? He said they punched reasonable doubt holes all through Michael Cohen. Do you think Anderson Cooper would convict? I guess that's the question. When we're talking about the other 8, that is the question. Most people don't. I have to say this, and I'm not saying this, I'm not a fan of Anderson Cooper, but he did display something that few people are able to display, which is the ability to see things a little bit clearer, even though we have those filters on, and all of us do. It honestly was a little bit surprising to me. All right. Because he probably represents demographically, and not only demographically, but attitudinally and as, attitudinally and ideologically, he represents those 8 more than the next person we're going to play. But the next person we are going to play may be like one of the other 3, where they're very likely to be, because of their demographic makeup, they're very likely to be ideologically in close on the spectrum to this next clip. Very, very likely to be there. So, I mean, all of these things. What I'm trying to say is, this case is so bad that it is in doubt in this district. I have seen, however, a ton of cases where I thought the evidence was clear. I didn't think it was crystal clear. There were witnesses that were not credible. So it's like, you're not out of the woods yet if you're Donald Trump at all, by any means, because I've seen this, not this high profile, but of course, I mean, it's Donald Trump, but I have seen somewhere there's a similar dynamic, and they still convicted. They still ground down the holdouts. They ground them down. All right. So I don't know. Anyway, though, let's play this clip, because I'm telling you, Anderson Cooper is a lot like one of those 8, a lot. And I don't know. I guess the question we would have to, somebody like an Anderson Cooper would be a good person to ask. Would you vote to convict if you were on that jury? That would be a good, you know what? If anyone wants to clip this and go ahead and send it to Anderson, it would be, look, the invitation is out there right now. The question's out there. I want to know, Anderson, whether or not you would vote to convict given what you have heard so far, because what you're saying is that the prosecution's case is not strong, and that Michael Cohen was not credible. Stormy Daniels was not credible. So even though you hate Donald Trump, Anderson, do you hate Donald Trump more than you respect the law? More than you respect the institutions that you clamored on about for years now in the era of Donald Trump? And I think Anderson Cooper's answer would be very instructive to us. and when we're talking about this case. All right. Crap, it's 109. Real quick before the last clip, we do have to take a commercial break. All right. And that's actually not the last clip. It's just the last clip of legal of people's opinions and analysts before we get into the person I think pretty much has it down. All right. But let's take a break from our sponsors. When we come back, we'll play them. All right. Listen, with everything going on in the world right now, it's no surprise that people are looking for safer places to invest their money. Stocks are unpredictable. And let's face it, inflation really impacts the value of currencies. And that's why I want to talk to you about one of our sponsors, Freedom Gold USA. If you've ever thought about investing in gold and silver, or if you do, and you're already interested, and maybe you just want to diversify your investment portfolio, Freedom Gold USA is definitely a company that you should check out. What I like about Freedom Gold USA, folks, is that they're all about helping you make smart investment choices in precious metals. All right, they believe the more that you know, the better. So they offer free investment guides, they offer consultations, and they give you information that you need to make confident decisions, and without the pressure, and there's no hard sell. Now, there's also a couple other things different about Freedom Gold USA. They guarantee competitive pricing on some of the best quality and purity gold and silver you'll find. You know you're getting a solid deal. You don't have to worry about extra fees. They offer free shipping and insurance on all orders. That's just fantastic. Plus, you might even get some free silver on qualifying purchases. And they give you a $500 credit toward opening a gold or silver IRA. That's a hell of a nice bonus. And here's the best part. Dealing with Freedom Gold USA is simple and hassle-free. It's pressure-free. You will not get any pushy sales tactics. They're just about helping you reach your financial goals in a way that works for you. So if you want to learn more, I'll tell you, go to Freedom Gold USA or give them a call at 888-279-3592. Or you can go to them and check out their website as well, which they got one just for us, freedomgoldusa.com/rich. freedomgoldusa.com/rich. You'll find out about all of their latest special offers, see what kind of deals you may qualify for. Let me give you that number again, 888-279-3592. 888-279-3592. Or just go to freedomgoldusa.com/rich. Don't wait. Give them a call today. Secure your financial future. And I'll tell you what, that free insurance thing is a big bonus. Big bonus. And it certainly doesn't hurt to have a gold silver IRA. $500 bonus. That's nice. That's nice. Especially since it limits annually for IRAs. It's a hell of a bonus. All right. And we're back. All right. Don't forget, this is the hour break, and I was a little bit late for it. But if you like the videos, first of all, you're watching Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. If you like the videos, don't forget to like them, share them far and wide. If you're on YouTube, mosey on over to Rumble. Go ahead and give us a like there and subscribe, and vice versa. If you're on Rumble, consider going over to YouTube, Getter, wherever, like the video, subscribe. And of course, the best place that if you want to follow us and support us is down here, peoplespundit.locals.com. peoplespundit.locals.com. You can, from there are links to the public polling project. You'll see the little hands in the air. It'll say support our polls. Share that too. Contribute what you can. Of course, share that far and wide. Let's help us expand the contributor base. The public polling project is now aggregated on 538. Huge victory for us. Huge victory for us. All right. And by the way, I have been able, because they link it, I have been able to track back they're small contributions, but they're still contributions. I actually have been able to track new contributors to the public polling project from 538. It's really a day I never thought I would see. I'm not kidding. Laura, right, Laura? I never thought I even would see this day. So we want to thank you, of course, for sticking it out with us and being so damn loyal. And we hate to ask you, to do anything or to do more, but it's best this way. This is the better model. And I know it's a shitty time in the Biden economy. I know people don't have extra, there's 5,000 people probably watching this show on Getter right now. If everybody gave $5, we'd be done. It'd be full. Right. So, hell, if anybody, even people gave $1, we'd be halfway done. That's why I'm stressing, the more contributors, the better, really. So share it with like-minded people who just want to see impartial, accurate polling. I don't want to play that clip again with Harry Enton, but man, we've been so far ahead of the curve on everything this year. We have led the trends. We have led the narratives. We saw the trends first. We saw the shifts first. It's better late than never to a party. But God, these people were late to this party. And I'm so glad we were not. And I would like to keep it going, but we need your help to do that. It really is that simple. All right. Where are we? There it is. Okay. All right. Let's play one more from a person that I think would either represent, I don't think they would represent one of the 8 because I don't think they're just flat out an always Democratic voter. Certainly a liberal Republican, certainly somebody who hates Donald Trump because of their time with Donald Trump. And frankly, they were a failure. And that's what happens when you're a failure, when you've worked for Trump and you're a failure or a loser, and then you get cut or whatever it may be, or you're just a traitor and a backstabber. There's always an out for you. There is, I'm going to turn on Trump. And if I turn on Trump, it gets extremely profitable. It'll be extremely lucrative. I could even get a seat on The View. I'll definitely be a contributor to CNN. So I think they're at the very least one of those 3 and possibly somewhere in between the 3 and 8. All right. So let's roll it.
He's not going to hear this, so don't worry. How would, based on, you would never be accepted as a juror. You have too much bias. No offense, what you experience with the defendant. But do you think that they are proving this case without a reasonable doubt? I mean, like, have they cleared the burden for you?
For me, even with my strong feelings about Donald Trump, my knowledge of how he behaves, I couldn't today convict beyond a reasonable doubt. Michael Cohen is just such a problematic figure. And in this own cross, I was just waiting to see somebody who was above board, didn't step in it, didn't lie, didn't end up getting kind of hostile and pushing back in some of these challenges. And it's hard for me to believe him when he's misrepresenting something as fundamental as having wanted a job in the White House.
Whoa. See what I mean? That's not good for Alvin Bragg. That is not good. She said, acknowledging her own bias and how he behaves. You notice everybody, you had that other woman too, who was a liar, said he grabbed the steering wheel. The Secret Service agent said that was total BS. That never happened. These people just fabricate stuff. It's unbelievable. Donald Trump, how he behaves. Okay. You like how Bill Clinton behaves? You like how Lyndon Johnson behaved? You like the words that come out of Lyndon Johnson's mouth? You like how he used to put his hands physically on people and bully people because he was a big guy? He grabbed them by the scruff of their shirts and back of their necks and stuff like that. I mean, give me a freaking break. I mean, you're literally on air right now with somebody who's just disgusting. All right. His partner was the Cuomo brothers, for crying out loud. I mean, you give me a friggin' break. What does Anderson Cooper do for fun on the weekends, or used to do? Give me a break. Whoopi Goldberg? Are you kidding me? Are you joking? Should we revisit some of the things Whoopi has said in the past? How she has behaved? Give me a break. Anyway, this is a loser who 100% decided I have nowhere to turn but to be a backstabbing Judas piece of garbage, and honestly was never really Trumper anyway. That's the deal. And even she acknowledging all of that, I don't like him. I could not vote to convict because Michael Cohen is so problematic for me. So what happened there? Let's unpack that for a second. And I know it's 1:20 already, but almost. Let's unpack that for a second. What she really is saying is I dislike Michael Cohen more than I dislike Donald Trump. And that is the job of the defense team. Alvin Bragg is going to want these jurors to dislike Donald Trump more than they dislike either Stormy Daniels or Michael Cohen. And then they can justify, believe me, how we work and how we operate as humans. It's not flattering. We come to these conclusions, we draw these conclusions based on our belief systems, and then we seek to justify them even when the facts and the evidence don't support them. We look for affirmations and justifications, rationalizations, right? And they failed with somebody like her. So that is honestly a very good sign for Donald Trump. However, again, we know the area we're in. And I think this is the question, and I've been saving this last clip, and there'll be one person who talks, and he's 100% correct about what he says. But then the host is going to pop back in. You know him, you love him. I've been on his show before. And he's going to say what he thinks the prosecutor is going to do, the prosecution is going to do. And this is so spot on. It's not even funny. This is what he will do. And this is what the question, because he can't ask the jury the question, do you buy our theory? Do you buy our theory, and will you convict based on the story we're telling you? They're not going to. Not even them. He's got to ask, he's got to tell them or insinuate, and the judge isn't going to stop it because the judge is crooked. This is the textbook definition of a crooked judge. I feel like we had it right even in the Wild West. You want to be crooked and take the pay? You want to work for the Santa Fe ring or whatever it is, that's fine. But understand, you may get your up and comings. Justice may just come and find you. This is what they're going to do, and the judge will not stop them. Are you ready?
Actual points. I saw Jack Black singing "Hit Me Baby One More Time" on social media, and that was actually that was banging. That was a heater. So my point is that he's a liar. He's gone to prison for lying. He's been caught in demonstrable empirical lies to Congress, to pretty much every single government agency. He's already written a letter and signed it saying that none of this happened, and his own lawyer is coming out against him. So the guy who was paid to defend him is coming out saying in Congress yesterday, this guy is a liar. And so the nature of liars is, of course, you have no idea when they're lying or what they're lying about. And so you shouldn't involve yourself with liars. If you have a girlfriend and she tells you that she's going to the grocery store.
And again, I love Benny. He's totally right. 100% correct with what he's saying. All right. But just bear with me.
And you found out that she didn't go to the grocery store and she lies to you and she can't tell you where she went. You got to dump that girlfriend. That's an unhealthy relationship. That is a toxic relationship. You cannot hang around liars. You should not be in the council of liars. And Michael Cohen is their star witness, and he is a dirty rat liar. And it's blown up. According to all the people who've come on our program, members of Congress, Trump's lawyers, Alina Habba, they're sitting there in the courthouse looking at the jury, and they're saying, these people aren't convinced. I don't care if they came from the Upper East Side. I don't care if they already had predetermined Trump biases, anti-Trump biases. They're not convinced. The jurors don't like this. And nobody wants if you have a shred of morality, you don't want to put an innocent man in prison. You don't want to be the person who voted to put an innocent man in jail or convict an innocent man.
Listen, that has happened before, though. And I'm telling you, it is almost like a version of post-traumatic stress disorder because it does happen. You don't want to be that, of course, but so much of how we behave and our regrets are, come from hindsight. And a lot of times in the moment, we're not thinking about the, short to long-term consequences of our actions. And for whatever reasons it may be, in the case, by the way, of, let's say, Scott Peterson, okay? They ground down the holdout, the final holdout. It was a man, middle-aged guy. They ground down, they just beat him down every day. And then he got he fell for like a rationalization trap. Okay, the dog thing. The dog thing now we know is pseudoscience. It is not true, and you cannot convict somebody based on that pseudoscience. In the court of law, it's not admissible anymore, but back then it was. He now lives with long-term regret, and it's like, some of these jurors will sob like a baby in front of you. I'm not kidding. It is like really is like a PTSD kind of illness or malady that follows you for the rest of your days. But in the moment, and I think I get what he's saying, but he's giving it like philosophical point of view, and I think he's right. I just think that in real life, in practice and how it works, we as human beings don't consider the how something may harm us later. Think about it. We cheat on a wife or a husband, and then when we get caught, right? There's a great documentary on Netflix right now about Ashley Madison. The guy hates his life. He destroyed his life, and he was a Christian blogger, and he turned out to be on Ashley Madison. He didn't think of the consequences of his actions at that time, and he hates himself for it now. And by the way, speaking of crying like a baby, it's like Niagara Falls, Frankie, Niagara Falls. And I feel bad for him, but dude, you should have kept it in your damn pants. He didn't think about it at the time he did it. All right. That juror thought that he could walk away and that's it. Now he thinks Scott is innocent and he is absolutely sick with himself. All right. It was pseudoscience and his two damn ladies exhausted his appeals. The man, potentially innocent man is going to die in prison. There's tons and tons and tons of examples of these cases. And I could point out over and over and over again. All right. There's one jury who didn't realize the prosecution was lying to them about evidence in the case of a man who allegedly murdered his wife in North Carolina. It's a huge story here. Right? The guy got a new trial. The prosecution eventually buckled. He got an Alfred plea. The family wouldn't let it go. The family of the wife believed he was guilty still. The evidence, of course, totally disproves that. It's not true, but the prosecution lied in the beginning. One of the jurors, I forgot. I'd have to ask Laura. I think he lost like 18 years of his life. One of those jurors is beside herself every day over the fact that she played a role in it, even though you could tell her, ma'am, you didn't know. It's not your fault. The prosecution did this. There were holes in the case, but it wasn't like that at the time. We didn't know what we know now. All right. So she still has it. At the time, we just don't think about these things. And I want to get to rest of this and say, with all of that in mind, this is what I think the prosecution will try to do. This is the overarching story and what they're really going to ask of the jury. It's going to be subconscious. It's not, or not even subconscious. It's going because the judge is going to let them do it. In any real court, they would not be allowed to do this, but you can see it. It's being telegraphed right now, like a haymaker coming from a mile away. It's not just like somebody telegraphing an overhand right. This guy dipped down, reached behind him to the floor, and it's coming. This is what they're going to ask of the jury. And the question will be, will the jury allow themselves to be asked that? And that comes down to whether or not how strong the ideological bias is, how strong the hatred is for Donald Trump. Again, that's why it's like that battle of who do you dislike more is really what it will come down to. And the prosecution knows that. And the prosecution's going to, I think, do exactly what this next speaker is going to say.
I think
it's a bust. I think today was the bust.
I agree. But I would not discount when it comes to closing arguments, when the prosecution is looking at the jury and making their case, I wouldn't be surprised if they say things like, think about Donald Trump and everything you've heard about him and what he's done.
So my point was the bust.
When the prosecution is looking at the jury and making their case, I wouldn't be surprised if they say things like, think about Donald Trump and everything you've heard about him and what he's done.
Time out. Now, normally a judge would say, no, that's not allowed. Unless you do it like this, and you have a judge like Juan Merchan
here in this courtroom. And take that into consideration when you are going to decide whether he should be free to continue all of the things you've heard he's done in the courtroom.
Yeah.
You see my point. The prosecution is, I believe they're going to try and frame it as much as possible as, I know it's BS, but this is your chance to put him away. Just do it.
Yeah. That's it. So congratulations to Tim Pool. He gets the People's Pundit Perspective Award for the week. 100%. That is what the prosecution will do. And normally a judge, a normal, honest, fair, credible, legitimate, not corrupt judge would say, whoa, whoa, whoa. I see what you're doing. You pull that crap in my courtroom and you're going to be in deep crap. One more time, you pull something like that and you will be in contempt. You will be in deep crap. Not this case, not this judge. He's not going to do that. He's going to give them the latitude they need to make that argument. I couldn't have illustrated it better myself. Tim did exactly what they're going to. Tim said he explained it exactly how you should expect it to go. And again, normally even that would not be allowed, but that's why is he going to do that? The story he's asking the jury to believe is done. It's blown up. Benny's right. It's done. Benny's right. Even Ari Malber doesn't want to admit it. He's right. Both of the CNN legal analysts are right. Matt Gaetz is right. Alan Dershowitz is right. John Turley's right. Alyssa Farr is right. You name it, down the line, they're all right. And by the way, I didn't even play the clip of Bob Costello last night again on Fox News because we all saw the testimony from Tuesday. And of course, he is Michael Cohen's old attorney. This conversation simply didn't happen. They're not going to believe it. So you need to tell them this is not really, wink, wink, about this case. This is about you being able to give us a great gift. And that's the gift of calling Donald Trump a felon and keeping it in the national discourse as we make our way to the election. That's what this is about. They don't want Donald Trump to win. And he's winning. They may even know a ton of people who are now voting for Donald Trump. They must. It's a matter of data. This is a matter of statistical probability. You cannot jump from 12 to 14% in this area of the boroughs all the way up to 24%, 25% without people on that jury knowing others who are bailing on the Democratic Party or at least bailing on Joe Biden and going with Donald Trump in November. There are too many mind changers. And they're not agreeing with their friends. They're going, are you serious? Are you serious? Oh, this guy will be, you don't remember. Oh, I can't take Trump returning to the White House again. No. Remember the lady? We all remember the lady. I think it was a lady. The inauguration. This is my chance then. I could stop him. I can stop him. I have the power to stop him. They're going to ask those jurors. And it won't be hard because we love being important, don't we? As human beings. Don't we like being significant? Don't we constantly overstate and overestimate our own importance in things? In thousands and millions maybe, but thousands and thousands, at least hundreds of thousands of bored, privileged, white, rich kids join a group like Antifa, not because they have a full understanding of what the group stands for, or their own beliefs have been fully developed long enough to know that they believe in that cause. They don't do it for any of those reasons. They do it because they want to be a part of something. They want to have a role in something big. Young, black and brown, especially. I'm not trying to generalize here. I'm just saying, but young, black and brown youths don't join the Bloods or the Crips or the Latin Kings because they aspire to do a 25 to life stint in state or federal prison. They do it because they want to join a group that makes them feel that they're a part of something bigger, that they matter, that their life was significant, and mattered, even history altering. And that's why I tell you that even though this was a complete and total bomb for the prosecution, they still have a powerful story to tell. And that's a story of, what did you want to be when you grew up? Didn't you want to be an important person? Don't you want to be an important person? Now is your chance. Overlook it all. Overlook the law. Overlook the injustices. Overlook the consequences to the country, both in the now and in the long term. Overlook that this is a bogus legal case. And just fulfill your desire to be important and help us stop this very bad man. That's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. And we will see. We will see. But don't for a second gas yourself. Don't forget about gaslight. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Don't gaslight yourself for a second and think otherwise. Yep. And honestly, there is a rebuttal to this. I just saw that on Locals. Yeah, of course there is. We have been talking about, by the way, join the book club. Sign up, peoplespundit.locals.com, become a supporter, join the book club. Oh, I got a special little prize. It looks like we're going to be able to get the lawyers. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, guys. Talking about the damn case. The word was in my head. You are not lawyers. We will have the authors to the book that we are reading join us for a book club soon. That's so cool. That's so cool. Honestly, I would have had Kevin Phillips if he didn't pass away when we were reading his book. I would have loved that. We all know he wasn't in great shape. I could have gotten John Mearsheimer for The Tragedy of Great Power Politics. I don't know why the hell I didn't. I don't think Jack Snyder would have came on my program or my book club, but John Mearsheimer would have. Especially since I would have hit him up with my album Mater. Hey, remember those seminars or speeches, whatever they were? Remember those things you used to give? Gator Nation, baby. Come on the show. Do me a solid. I went to every one of your lectures, man. We loved you over there. We were Team Mearsheimer. 100% go offensive realism. By the way, Dunkin' Donuts is far superior to Starbucks. Boom! I said it. Laura got me a coffee because I didn't have time this morning running around, getting them the car, the van. Anyway, there is a rebuttal to this. And we've talked about it on the book club a lot. And the rebuttal is very simple. You will be part of something big. You're going to save the justice system in this country. You're going to be, that's a good way to put it, John, on YouTube. That's YouTube. You're going to be on the right side of history. Be on the right side of history. Do not let your kids and grandkids read in the history books about how this case contributed to the downfall of American self-governance. In this country, we, the voter, are sovereign. We pick our presidents. We pick our leaders. We solve our political differences at the ballot box, not in the jury box. I rest my case. And by the way, Alvin Bragg's entire argument is bullshit and all of his witnesses lied. Have a good day. I rest my case. Because if the judge is going to let the prosecution give them the latitude to do it, and you could just simply turn right at that piece of shit and say, you let them talk about it. You let them do it. Speaking of history, Judge, you want to be on the wrong side when the Supreme Court eviscerates how you handled this case? May not even get there. This very district, in this very state, on a lot flimsier argument, reversed Harvey Weinstein's conviction. Oh, yeah. And that was a much more difficult case to make to the upper court. And if you don't think Trump's attorneys, if there is a guilty verdict, you don't think Trump's attorneys aren't going to go and tell the upper court just that. Hey, in Weinstein v. the state of New York, this is what this very court held. And if it gets higher than that, then they all look like, you know what's on the wrong side of history. But you can start telling the jury right now that you don't have to be a part of it. You could say no. You can say no. All right. Let's do a little bit of a dig in here. I'm not even sure how to... All right, let's get your questions in. Questions, comments, super chats, rumble rants, whatever it may be on, I will search for them. So, if you got a question, get that in. Or even a comment you may want me to just read, then get them in and we'll do that. And I do, again, People's Pundit Perspective Award, we're going to be giving out. The first winner is Tim O'Pool. Tim Pool. Sorry. I used to have a friend, Tim O'Pool. He was young. Well, a friend when we were younger. I'm a lot older now. And I always think about him. Every time I listen to Tim Pool or I go on Tim Pool, I always think about him. Still to this day. All right. What time is it? 1:41. Okay, so let me get all this out of here so we don't have any glitch. We will take our last commercial, and then when we get back, we'll do the rest of those questions and comments. I did want to go over the Electoral College here. Do we have time to do that? I'm not. Honestly, I'm straight not sure. Yeah, look, this is I got Michael Cohen's plea deal right here. He admits in his plea deal that he is a liar. Looks like Rudy Giuliani is celebrating. How could you not? If you guys want to go over that order, we can go over that order from the high court. This, for people who don't understand what this means, it means that her entire office, this is done. This case is done. She will not be handling this. It means that I believe there's some kind of judge panel that will now decide. Am I wrong about that? I think so. But there is now a judge panel that will decide whether or not they even take the rest of this, because there were several charges that were actually dismissed already. And it's a racketeering case. She needs, same thing like Jack Smith, though, the way he put it together, his cases together. They need all of these charges to stick. They can't be dismissed because it becomes very, very difficult to, again, they're all novel legal theories. It becomes very, very difficult for them to piece that together if some of these charges have been thrown out. And just 4 days ago, Scott McAfee tossed several charges against Donald Trump. Huge, just huge. This is huge. And by the way, the damage has been done politically from the overreach. Even if all of these cases go away, the judge is gone, goodbye. This case is dismissed. Even if that's done in many of these cases, or the Supreme Court, right, rules in Trump's favor, the political damage Democrats really have dealt to themselves is done. They already showed that they were willing to do this. So it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Of course, she's screaming, from what I understand, she is screaming racism about it. Yep, I kid you not. She's saying this because she's a black woman. No, it's because you're corrupt person. No gender identifier, no racial identifier. You are a corrupt official, lady. A corrupt official. And that's a wrap. So you're out. Oof, I'd like to read that order. See if we can get our hands on that order. All right, let me take a quick 30 seconds to get a drink of water, do what I got to do. When we come back, we will go over that last little bit, like I said, and then take some questions.
We just have to demonstrate that he will not take power by if he does run, making sure he, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, does not become the next president again.
Legitimate efforts, which he then jokes about, right? Nobody seems to care. Nobody seems to care. Robert Costa, the rest of them are like, this is outrageous. Mike Johnson would ever talk about, the case the way he does. He's number 2 in, to the president. Okay. He's number 3, actually, but he's 3rd in line. The president, the vice president, the speaker of the House, bro. Number 2 to the president. The president's number 2 is the vice president. Okay. I know you have a little mix up of words, although I see what he's saying, but let's be honest here. He doesn't care that Mike Johnson spoke up about it. He cared that Mike Johnson spoke against it. Joe Biden can come in multiple videos. He can give his speech. The White House Correspondents' Dinner, joke about it. Molly Hemingway is totally true. That joking, I hear you're free on Wednesdays, Donald, is disgusting. So here's our Electoral College update for the week. All right. That I totally agree with. That's the no toss-up map. There is a problem, however, that I would say, because this is the no toss-up map. We don't have much in the way of Maine. We just don't. But it is possible that Trump takes the Maine at large. We will have to see. Right now, it is allocated to Joe Biden. There is only one poll I'm waiting for to see whether or not it confirms the Pan Atlantic poll. If the Pan Atlantic poll is proven to be accurate, they have a Trump +6 in Maine right now. But they were both very low vote shares. If it's proven to be accurate with the DRI poll, then we're going to have to move that over. Trump will get that one as polling predicts anyway. That's what you're looking at, the polling prediction. And then Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan are still in Trump's column, despite some outliers. The Sun Belt looks just awful for Joe Biden. There are a few sleeper states here. If this is the scenario going into November, then you need to look at a couple of states that may go, or maybe they don't go, but they're just super, super close. The New York Times polling, they did not poll the state of New Mexico, but they did poll Nevada and Arizona. And based on the Hispanic vote, Nevada and Arizona, you would have to put New Mexico in the toss-up category. And why? Because Biden and Trump in 2020 split the white vote in New Mexico. They split it even down the line. Bang, bang, right? There is no doubt that Biden is a much weaker candidate now, and Donald Trump is a much stronger candidate now than either one of them were, respectively, in 2020, which would tell us that probably Trump will do a little bit better with the white vote. But that wouldn't be enough, considering there's like 30 to 40% of the electorate on any given election in New Mexico is Hispanic. If we believe the New York Times polling, then Trump is leading in several key Sun Belt battlegrounds with Hispanics. There is no reason to believe that that isn't going to happen in New Mexico as well. Why? Because Trump actually performed better in New Mexico among Hispanics in 2020 than he did with Hispanics overall nationwide. All right, let me say that again. Trump performed stronger among Hispanics in this state of New Mexico in 2020 than he did nationwide among Hispanics. So, given we know the national trend is certainly in Donald Trump's favor with Hispanics, and given that Sunbelt polling of Hispanics shows that he's actually leading among them in several states, and given that we are assuming, anyway, that Biden is a weaker candidate, Trump is a stronger candidate, because it is. I mean, everything is telling us that's the truth. Then, the deciding vote in New Mexico would be that Hispanic vote. And if Trump edges Biden out, even by a point with the white vote, let's say he doesn't. Let's say he ties with the white vote again because he won it against Hillary, but he lost Hispanics badly. And New Mexico was closer with third parties. This time around in 2020, it was not that many third party appetites. So this time it would be a hybrid somewhere in the middle, but Trump would do better with whites, almost assuredly. Let's say he doesn't and he ties with them again like he did in 2020, or maybe even loses them by a point, right? But he wins Hispanics in New Mexico. Then it's over. He's going to carry New Mexico, or it's going to get very, very, very close. Nail biting, because he's still going to lose the other non-whites. Maybe not so much. He's going to do better with Native Americans in that state, but because he is everywhere. We even can see that in the primary in Arizona, by the way. Biden did horrible in some Navajo Nation areas, and Trump killed it. Tells you they're abandoning Biden. All right, but this is the no toss-up map today. If we were, again, this is what that would look like. However, if we did that, we'd have to put Nevada as, I'll still put it as leans because we know those races are always much closer. We're going to keep that one a toss-up for now. Wisconsin, we're going to make leans. It's always closer than the polls suggest. It polls more Democratic than it votes. It's that simple. We'll have to keep Michigan leans. We'll have to keep Pennsylvania leans. North Carolina is likely. That is going to go with the national trend. Georgia will keep likely. Florida's got to go likely. Texas got to go likely. Ohio is likely. And actually, it is safe because safe is 12 or points or more. So Ohio and Iowa are safe Republicans. Maine, we would have to put back into the toss-up. Biden's going to take one vote in the first congressional district. He's going to take that. Let's say what we were just talking about were to happen and New Mexico was a toss-up, okay? Then this is what the map really looks like. This is what the map looks like. So, if that happened, even if Biden, by the way, was to, let's do Wisconsin. It's polling more Democratic now, even though it's a load. I know it's a load. But whatever. Let's do it. He wins Wisconsin. Not enough. Okay, Trump's still at 302. Let's say because Trump is polling stronger in Michigan than he is in Pennsylvania in many of these polls, let's say Biden takes Pennsylvania. Still, it's not enough. Trump is still ahead. Trump needs to lose all three of the Rust Belt states, and Biden needs, because he's still not there, Biden would need to hold New Mexico, which would be leans Democrat, and then he needs to hold Minnesota, which would be leans, and he needs to take Maine because he will get, oh yeah, that's right. Why do they not have the first and second congressional district? That's not a done deal yet. Oh, there it is. Let's make it Biden. That's what Biden needs. All right. Now, realistically, I don't think this is going to happen. I really don't. We can even still give Nebraska to Biden, but let's go back to what I was saying before. Wisconsin tends to poll much, much more Democratic in Trump races anyway, much more Democratic than it actually votes. Happened in 2016 and it happened in 2020. In 2020, it looked like Trump's worst of the Rust Belt 3, and instead it ended up being his best. So let's say Trump would hang on there and he wins by the skin of his teeth. Trump is still president. He's not going to lose Maine too, so we're not even going to go on. We're not even going to go out there with that. All right. So that's the position that Biden is in right now. It's an awful, awful position. So here we go. Cohen was predictably a you-know-what show. Yep. And what you said about Obama, he shouldn't be hauled into a courtroom, even though we know he committed actual crimes. The presidency must survive. Crew Kid, they take out the presidency. There's nothing left for us. The House and the Senate, the lower and upper chambers, have abdicated their oversight role to the executive branch. They don't conduct oversight over the intelligence agencies and community. The Supreme Court, along with Thomas, and I think he probably was right, just ruled against them on the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They have abdicated their duty and their right and their constitutional right to be the only ones who are allowed to declare war, everything already. And it's like, if they neuter the president, there's never a hope or a chance of balancing the administrative state, because we know sure as hell our lawmakers are not going to do it. Well, if we can't find a majority of 450 who are willing to do their constitutional duty, then by God, maybe we can just find one who is willing to serve in the executive branch and uphold it and be our sovereign, the extension of our sovereignty, really, not be our sovereign. He or she is the extension of our sovereignty. They take that away from us, it's over. Over. The presidency must survive. 100%. Man, if it wasn't for Tim Pool already winning it, would have maybe given you, crew, the People's Pundit Perspective Award of the Week. Hey, Rich, I saw a poll in New Mexico. I don't remember the name of the pollster. It was Biden +1 with Trump at 55 and Biden at 46 with 550 voters. New Mexico is a small state. That should be an adequate sample. For New Mexico, I personally like about 600 myself. That's what ours were. It was in 2016. We did not poll it in 2020. We were about 600 then. It's a very small state with a very sparse population. It is very difficult to reach some of these rural voters. It is especially rural Hispanic voters. They're even more detached from rural voters, rural white voters. So it's, 550 is not bad. Right? And that isn't a lead for anyone, that is a nail biter race, which, by the way, the Survey USA poll just came out in Minnesota for KSTV, local affiliate, new media affiliate over there. And it's Biden +2. So believe me, folks, I'm telling you, if Minnesota is Biden +2, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin are gone. Gone. Tony Fabrizio for AARP also conducted with Insider or whatever, their left-wing group. It was a jointly conducted poll. Virginia was 1 point or 2 points, 1 point, whatever. This is not going to happen if Trump is losing the working class northern Midwest. It's just no way. So let's say Biden completely craters and it ends up being a landslide for Donald Trump. He wins the popular vote by about 2 to 4 points. What could it look like? Well, it could look like this. Yeah, I would leave one because he doesn't. He would lose the first district by, single digits, mid single digits, 6 points, I believe. Pan Atlantic had him at, but they had him at. It was ridiculous, 25 points in the second district, which he wins by 8 or 9. In 16 and 20, he won it by 8 or 9, 8 and 9, close between 8 and 9 points. If he's up 20 something points there, he's going to carry the state of Maine, and that would happen. He'd have to lower Biden's margin in the first district, but he could do it. Virginia, I'm truly, truly skeptical. It is technically possible. God, I'm truly skeptical. But let's just say it were to happen. That's what you're looking at here. And New Mexico absolutely would go before Colorado would go. Oh, yeah. Colorado has more liberal white people, number one, and a smaller Hispanic population. Remember, the competitiveness of Trump, it's not even competitive. Honestly, the dominance of Donald Trump in Nevada and Arizona in many of these polls is done on the back of how much Hispanic voters have swung. White voters, yeah, obviously he's still winning them, but this is really the result of Hispanic votes. All right. So I really think that Trump's ceiling is around 342 in an election where he, oh, wait, sorry. No, because that would mean that Nebraska 1 would go 343. And that would be a complete and total landslide. And by the way, right now, even though that's safe for Democrat, we really have to put it in the neighborhood of likely Democrat. California is still above 12 points, so that's safe. Oregon would be safe too, but yeah, that's what it would look like. Yeah, I'm just looking. Yeah, that's fair. All right. I just gave you Biden's best scenario and I gave you Trump's best scenario. Okay. I think that's fair on both sides. Again, best scenarios. Best. Couldn't Pennsylvania be considered blue and Michigan? No, not against Donald Trump. Not against Donald Trump. Against others, yes, but not against Donald Trump. All right. I would say that's really it's a stretch in an election cycle. What we're seeing, it's a stretch. Now there are several Republican senators that are having real problems. So if we're going to look at the Senate map, let's stick here. I mean, Senate, no toss-ups isn't out yet. Okay. But just to tell you what it would look like, this is leans Democrat. This is leans Democrat. This is safe Republican. Rick Scott is not going to lose Florida. Yeah, I mean, they're different, right? Because there are some states that aren't on here yet. Pennsylvania leans Democrat, There's a lot of ticket splitting going on right now. Republicans are running way behind Donald Trump. It's a real problem. Wisconsin, that's done. Michigan would be leans Democrat. Has to be, Depending on how strong Donald Trump is in those states, both Michigan and Pennsylvania. I don't know. Will we see ticket splitting on this level when we get closer to the election? I don't think so, but we'll just have to see. All right. Don't forget, book club, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Am I missing anybody? Nope, that was that last one. Rumble rants. Nope, got that. I just wanted to make sure anybody who paid for a question I didn't miss. Yeah, the Innocence Project wants Peterson's thing retested. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, the thing with the boat, though. That's the entire point, though. That witness that said that they saw the boat, he's now in South America and they can't find him. He's totally recanted. And think about it. It was a huge deal. Oh, I saw the body in the boat. Well, apparently the tests that have been conducted since the body, he could not have loaded in the boat by himself. That boat simply wasn't big enough. Not to say, I mean, look, at least he wasn't a big woman, but I don't know. You can revisit that another day. But yeah, don't forget book club, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. This is like a makeup for Mother's Day that we didn't do. This one was supposed to be canceled because the girls are going away and it's tough, but I'm going to make it up somehow, even if it's a madhouse, because I'm thinking Saturday night, it's Mother's Day. I don't want to take anybody away from Mother's Day, even though, check out Magoose. Check out, let me get you the Fannie Willis thing. I saw it on Kyle Becker. I'm not sure I saw it on Becker. I'm not sure it's done yet. Looks like Chris Powell did it. I don't know what Kyle Becker's website is, but usually he does not tweet fake news. So he put that out there. Maybe it's just not out yet, but we'll see. You got to be careful of that leading, and I don't know who runs it. I don't. But sometimes on that leading report thing, he did not dismiss all the charges against Donald Trump. Some of the stuff has been dismissed, but not all of the charges. That is not true. And let me see if I can find it for you really quick. I just saw it on Kyle, and Kyle doesn't. There it is. This is another one, though. This is another order. This is the tweet Kyle put out, but I'm reading another order right now, which is Jocelyn Wade files a new response to Nathan Wade's effort to get out of his support. Oh, that's child support. I don't give a damn about that stuff. That's people's private lives, and I really don't care about their private lives. Divorce and family court custody battles are ugly. People say things that are just make you look like a monster that are totally untrue. I don't like that. I don't like the use of that unless somebody did something really, really bad and it's confirmed by the police later who investigated it. Like, oh, I abused the kids or something. They tried that with my good friend Sean Parnell. There's no way he ever did things like they said. It's awful. That's why there was an investigation and totally found to be cleared. That should never be used as political. You know, you're making kids cannon fodder. You're making the kids cannon fodder. Anyone who's ever grown up in a divorced house, it's effed up, man. That's just straight evil. It's straight evil. All right. What other announcements I thought I had to make? I did not. Thank you to our sponsors, of course, at taxreliefhelpers.com. The link is in the description for all of them. So are the phone numbers. Don't forget, check out Freedom Gold USA. And it's freedomgoldusa.com/rich. Or if you do that and sign up for their thing, just tell them that People's Pundit sent you. But they'll know if you fill it out on /rich. They're very cool. You know, like I've said before, high pressure. Oh, spend $50,000 on silver and get a gift. It's not feasible for most people, but doesn't mean most people shouldn't have to have $50,000 or $100,000 to get a free gift in silver or gold in order to protect their investments from inflation and a bankrupted dollar or something. It should be available. What else? 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't think I'm missing anything else. Sunday, 3 p.m. All right. With that in mind, we're going to bizouch, and I will see you. Don't forget to like the video. If you like these videos, like them, and subscribe. If you're on if you're on YouTube, mosey on over to Rumble, like and subscribe there, vice versa. Of course, the best place to follow us is on Locals. It's right there. You will see a link. If you don't see the Public Polling Project link below, you can always just go to bigdatapoll.com and go to the menu, and you'll find the top level bar right there. That's how you get to the crowdfunding page for the Public Polling Project. Contribute what you can, if you can. Share it far and wide. I'm really trying to make a big push here. I would like to. I got some private polls we have to conduct this weekend. Got a huge one with Barnes that's going to be cool. That's coming out. And then also I have some other stuff I have to do. That's like our actual business. But I would like to very much to poll Michigan again very soon. I think Michigan is going to be so key. Pennsylvania is, of course, the Keystone State. But if he's going to continue to run this strong in Michigan, it's going to be very difficult to beat him. Very difficult. All right. So I would love to do it again. But yes, the other ones have to be funded. We need a new national poll and whatnot. So, please do so while we're on the aggregators. I don't want to say something too soon here, but I need to speak with somebody after. While we're on the aggregators, all the aggregators, all right, we're going to need to be able to pump these things out. All right, so let's do it. You know what I mean? All right, 2:08. We're late. None but love for you guys. I will see you. Have a safe weekend. Have a great weekend, but have a safe weekend. Don't do anything stupid. Definitely don't do anything I would do. And I will see you. If you're in book club or you're a local supporter, I will see you on Sunday. All right. Thanks, guys. Nothing but love for you.